Well, let's bring in here Rachel Waterhouse, the Chief Executive of the Australian Shareholders Association, which was represented at that meeting of Origin shareholders today, which did simply not go ahead. So, Rachel, many thanks for your time. First thing first, what does this actually say? This has been a long, convoluted thing. The shareholders would be well understood, be highly confused about what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. The shareholders would be confused. It's been going for a significant period of time, as was just mentioned. Lots of documentation to go through, preparing for a meeting to attend today at 2 o'clock that's now adjourned to the 4th of December. There will be more information to review before the 4th of December.
Now, I know that you won't comment on the validity of the price that's being offered, but the fact that now you don't have one offer, you've actually got two from the same organisation, one which is higher, one which is lower, one which is a takeover, one which is a scheme of arrangement. Again, it doesn't lessen the confusion in the shareholders' minds.
Well, even today, seeing the statement, it is very confusing. So shareholders will need time to understand what that really means. And there's divided views as well. Of course, with many shareholders on these things, there's those that support it and think about what it means for them, what share price they bought in at, whether that's a gain for them. And there's others that feel very strongly around companies going private and less opportunities for them with the ASX 200.
OK, so that's a key thing here about this. And this is one of the arguments from AustralianSuper, Australia's biggest superannuation fund. If EIG and Brookfield take Origin Energy off the stock market, they will not be able to invest in it. Australian shareholders will not be able to invest in it. And if there's enormous growth in the future as a result of our energy transition, then Australians won't be able to share in it. That's where they see the long-term value in something like Origin Energy.
Absolutely. That's the concern for retail shareholders. You've got those that are putting their money in and saving up to maybe buy a house. You've got those that are self-funded retirees. And they want to be able to invest in multiple sectors and companies and have those opportunities for them. So they do see it as something that's potentially being taken away from them as an opportunity to invest and get the gains in the long term.
All right, can I ask one other question? Because I'm very conscious of this. With anybody who's got Origin Energy shares right now, if they're a retail shareholder, they've been bombarded with phone calls from all sides telling them what to do or what not to do. Sell your shares, don't do this, you've got to support this, you've got to do that. Can you vote here? Can you not vote there? So really, in fact, the lobbying behind the scenes, which most people won't have seen unless they own these shares, it's been vigorous, hasn't it?
It has. And it reminds me of what happened last year with AGL and Grok and the campaigns that happened. So you're getting calls, emails, and it does lead to confusion. So we have been saying to retail investors around Origin and before today is to really read the documentation and think about what that means for you and then for them to make the decision.
OK, but there is one truism about this, and that is if, say, for example, Brookfield and EIG walked away tomorrow and simply said, that's enough, we've had enough, we're off, the share price of Origin would fall dramatically because there is a premium for control that is built into where the price has been and is right now. And you can even see when this thing was wavering, that share price of Origin started to ease off. So that's the reality of a company that's in play versus a company that's not in play.
Yeah, that's true. The other aspect of thinking about that is there's always going to be ups and downs based on announcements and what's happening, but it's the long-term side of a share and how shareholders feel. So if it does mean that they walk away and it doesn't proceed, it'll be around, well, how do retail shareholders think about the long term? What do they think about government announcements? And how confident they are in the share price in the future. So I get that, but it could vary. OK,
so when the Australian Shareholders Association goes along to these meetings to represent your members, the Australian shareholders, how do you think about this? How do you sort of weigh up the pros and cons of these offers, the way in which you actually represent this to your members?
Yeah, what we do is we have a bunch of volunteers who are retail shareholders and they look at these offers. We often do a lot of work around AGMs themselves, but we are careful with offers and valuations as far as we do feel that it's a retail shareholder perspective to make that decision for them.
And is it guided by the fact that also that the directors in this case recommended the offer, But now they're sitting there, as we just heard Ed say, and they're sort of wavering on the offer. So this, again, doesn't really give clarity to the individual shareholder. Right, that's an easy one. We'll accept that and we'll take the cash and keep on moving.
Yeah, the news of the day is that the board have said it's a complex offer and they need to assess it before even retail shareholders can have a good look and assess it.
Okay, because there's not just the price that you're taking, there's also tax implications. There's a question about whether some of it's coming to you as dividends or whether it's all cash. These things actually all play out in bids that are so large. But $20 billion is a big takeover in Australian terms, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's personal circumstances getting down to that point is any kind of offer we do say to retail shareholders, they should seek professional advice as well when they're making those decisions, because there have been mergers and takeovers that do have an impact on the individual and it depends on their own circumstances.
It's still interesting to note the number of takeovers just with companies disappearing and therefore the options for shareholders also disappearing from our market.
Yeah, and that is a concern. And even with Origin, it has flared up some feedback from shareholders concerned about this and reminding us of what has happened in the past in sectors and airports that have gone private. So, they are concerned about something being potentially taken away from them as an opportunity to invest.
Great stuff. Rachel Waterhouse from the Australian Shareholders Association. Always good to chat to you and many thanks for your time today.
Lovely. Thank you.